Hi, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well today. I hope the sun is shining down on you wherever you are. Thank you for wanting to hang out with me today. I appreciate it. Um, my channel is about my journey and my truth. And my journey isn't just talking about my disease, it's also talking about a little bit of my personal life and how my disability is all wrapped up. I often refer to our situation as a tangled up wad of Christmas lights. For you that have been following me for a while know that I'm very metaphorical, meaning and for those that maybe not know what that means, it's when a person takes a situation that they are going through and explains it in a way that would include everybody in the world at some part in your life, whether it was when you were younger or now. The one thing about Christmas lights is they like to tangle themselves up into a big ball of mess. And so when I talk about our disease, when I talk about CRPS, when I share my truth and my journey with you guys, it our disability is not detachable, meaning we can't take it off at the end of the night and put it on the shelf. It is with us 24/7, 365. And so you have to acknowledge it, you have to give it life, unfortunately, because if you don't, it's going to consume you as a whole person, and it's going to be very difficult to live your best life. And so that brings me to what I want to talk about today. And again, I apologize ahead of time if this motivational chit chat is everywhere, because sometimes I do that. But I promise you, at the end of all of this, there's a meaning. So anyway, yesterday I had a therapy appointment, and I spoke to her a little bit about PTSD. I didn't realize I had it until I spoke with her about my mother's passing and something very traumatizing that happened to me that day, and how it affected me later on. And so yesterday we talked a little bit about another traumatizing situation that I thought I would be able to, once I left and I arrived at my new destination, which is my home, I thought that I would be okay. I thought that I would be able to close that door and never talk about it again, never thinking about it again, never acknowledge it again. But unfortunately, that's not been the case. Because for some reason, that traumatizing situation keeps getting brought up in my life. And sometimes, in order to get through it, we have to acknowledge it and we have to discuss it. And it's not always easy to talk about, because when you are traumatized and hurt that deeply, even though it hurts to not acknowledge it, it hurts even more acknowledging it and giving it attention and breathing life back into it. Because when we're traumatized with a situation, talking about it over and over and over again, you kind of are reliving it over and over and over again. But I have with the time of having my therapist and things that I have spoken to her about, I have noticed with some things that I've talked to her about, the more I've spoke about them, the more I've acknowledged them, the more I have give them life again by talking about them, it's getting easier to talk about. And so I hope that at the end, this will be easier for me to grow from, to move from, and to finally 100% shut the door on that chapter of my life and never acknowledge it or give it life again. And that was the situation that I was living in before I got my own place, before I got my own home. And I had, the last few years have been pretty rough. I've dealt with a lot of things on my own that I've not spoken about. I've cried a lot of tears. I have, it's been a rocky situation, and by no means am I saying that our hardships are, this isn't a contest. And I feel like sometimes when we talk about certain things that we are going through as a disabled person, I feel like people that are not disabled, when they watch us talk or share our journey, or when they read something that we've written or posted, let's face it, our world, unfortunately, is involved in social media just about every day of our life. And so your life is, it's very hard sometimes to keep your life private, because, prior to social media and the internet and, iPhones and computers, when you would share your deepest sadness moments or traumatizing situations with a person, it stayed with that person. The whole world didn't hear about it because, yes, that person might have told somebody else, but at the end of the day, you didn't have everyone on your social media platform knowing your personal life. And so it's really hard sometimes to keep it private. And I know some are going to go, well, if you want it private, don't tell nobody. There's nothing wrong with having someone to speak with. There's nothing wrong with having that person that you trust and share situations that you're going through. There's nothing wrong with that. As human beings, we need to talk. We need to vent. We need to get it out, because if we don't, it drives you mad. And it's healthy. It's healthy to discuss topics that aren't always easy to talk about. And so there's nothing wrong with that. And when you go to somebody and you are talking to them about situations that you're going through, it's because more than likely you trust that person to keep what you say to them confidential. So there's nothing wrong with you confining in somebody. What is wrong with the situation is when that person that you trusted goes and tells the world. That is not right. That is not what somebody does when they are trusting you with information, when they are trusting you with something they're going through, and you go and you tell other people. That's where that's the problem we're having with society. If it's not the internet, it's, and if they're not telling a person in person, they're putting your news out there on the big wide web of internet. So, it's really hard to stay private. My platforms are not private because, the reason I chose to be, public here is because what I share is really important. I don't have anything to be ashamed of. I didn't do this to myself. I didn't make myself sick. I didn't give myself a deformity. I didn't give myself this disability. So, when you're living with something, especially something that is not understood, especially something that gets ignored a lot, and, it's really hard to live with a disability that a lot of people don't even believe in. If I told you I had cancer, you'd believe me, right? So, we always reflect back to the cancer, because it's if someone tells you I have cancer, your first reaction is, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You know, are you okay? You know, what's the next step? Where, how, you know, when? If someone says, I have CRPS, you look at us like we grew a second head, like we just sprouted another head out of our neck. We don't get that. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Oh my gosh, how, you know, we don't get any of that. We get looked at like we just spoke a different foreign language somewhere, or language that's not even been, you know, discovered yet. So I mean, so when we refer to the cancer thing, I'm not by no means poo-pooing on anybody that has cancer or has had cancer, because I have lost a lot of loved ones from cancer, my mother included. So I understand the scary of it. I understand the how ugly and disgusting cancer is. Um, but it's just something that we reference to because, again, it's been proven over and over and over again that there is a lot of people, and there is billions of people on this planet, and there's probably half of you, if not more, don't know what CRPS is or don't believe that it's real. So that's why we always, if you talk to anybody, you know, or if you followed me a while, I compare. And it's not a comparison as much as it is um, uh, an example, okay? Because you can't compare CRPS to cancer. There's, you know, there's a lot of pain with CRPS, but there is no comparison to the two. So I often will reflect to that as an example, okay? So there's no disrespect to anybody who has ever had it or has lost people from it, because I myself am in that same boat. I get it. Um, but anyway, see, I told you sometimes to revert back to my topic that I want to discuss today is, and I know a lot of you out there have spoken to me um, personally about what you're going through and what you've gone through, and I know there's a lot of you out there that don't go to people about it because you feel like it's your fault. And because I've been on both sides of the coin, I understand both sides. Um, but however, this is where having a therapist comes in at, and this is why I have said and will continue to say having a therapist is so important, especially when you are a person living with this disability. um, I will say this over and over and over and over and over. I don't know how I ever got through the years I got through without mine. I've had mine going on about 5 years now, and you know, it was really hard um, prior to her. And I will say, and I know some of you maybe don't have a therapist because you feel like you don't need one, um, or you know, maybe your outlook on therapy is for people that are cuckoo. There's there are numerous types of therapy out there. Okay, you've done physical therapy. Maybe you're still doing physical therapy. That is a type of therapy. So there's nothing wrong with having a therapist. In fact, it is very healthy to have a therapist. Like I said, it is very healthy to discuss things with somebody that you know will be in that will be confidential. You know that you can trust. It's very healthy, and I don't know how I got along without her. Some of the things I have talked about with her, there are certain parts of that topic that I've discussed here. I with one thing that will be different from my conversation and our conversation is I will never give names. I am not that person. Now, I will come up here and I will vent about a situation, but I will never throw anybody under the bus. That is not what I do. Okay? Now, with my therapist, obviously it's different. But when I am talking publicly about a situation, I refrain from names. There's no need for it. If this person or that person happens to see my video or hear my motivational chit chat and it hits home with them, or it's a familiar story to them, you know, they know who they are, and that's all that matters. I don't need it. I'm not, and there have been numerous people in my life that have thrown me under the bus. I'm not that person. Now, I could be just as trite, just as nasty, just as evil by throwing out a name, but I'm not that person. Does that make me the better person? Yeah, in my eyes it does, because I can talk about how I was treated by a certain person without throwing out a name, because the name is not what's important. The important thing is how I got through it and how I am getting through it. So that there is what I feed knowledge to, that there is what I feed energy to, because that person is not worthy of me even saying their name out loud. So I can still talk about what I went through. I can still talk about the situation. I can still talk about what was done to me, because it was done to me. And so it is my story to tell, it is my journey to share, and it is my truth. And so whether or not I use a person's name, irrelevant. It doesn't make a difference, because I'm not, by using a name, you are giving that individual power. You are giving that individual attention. You are giving that individual the limelight, so to speak. And so it's not necessary. Okay, so please don't go in the comments asking who it was or anything like that, because I will, and I'm not trying to sound rude or be mean about it, but I won't answer you. Okay, I just won't. Again, like I said, it's not important who it was. Just know that this is part of my journey. This is stuff that I went through not very long ago, and it's stuff that I'm working out and working through with my therapist. When you have a therapist, you are going to and if you have a good one, okay, now, again, there are doctors out there, regardless of what style or type of medical they perform or do, you have your good and you have your bad. And so if you have a good therapist, they're gonna treat you as a whole person, not just your pain, not just your medication, not just your treatments, but they're gonna treat you as a whole person, because at the end of the day, that is what you are. Our disease is not separate from us. Our disabilities are not separate from us. They don't come off at the end of the day. They're not detachables, because I'm sure if they were, we would never put them back on again. So my therapist doesn't just focus on my disability, my pain, my treatments, my deformities, all that. She focuses on me, and we talk about me as a whole. And that does include the CRPS. A lot of people get upset when I say I am CRPS and CRPS is me, because they don't want to acknowledge the fact that they have it. And I understand that, and I get that. It's not easy acknowledging that your life is now changed and is going to continue to change, that your life is now going to be a whole different journey and outlook than you had planned for yourself. Trust you, I didn't plan this. There's not a part in me, not a piece of me, that ever thought that I would have become disabled in my 40s, and that it was going to be something that has no cure, and that it was going to be something that deformed me as a person inside and out, and that it was something I was going to have to live with the rest of my life. Okay, so I get it. This was not in my plans either. But guess what? It was the card I was dealt, and it's the card I've been learning how to play for the last 14 years. So you have to do what you have to do, and it's not always going to be easy. You're going to have days where you just want to scream at the top of your lungs. Trust me, I've done it. And guess what? I felt so much better after. You're going to have days where your emotions are all over the place. You're going to have days where you don't want to get out of bed. You're going to have days where they're a good day. Like today was a good day for me. Yesterday, not so much. But today it's been a better day. We'll say that. It's been better than yesterday. And you have to, there's going to be a lot of things that you're going to have to learn how to do, and one of them is knowing when and where to place your energy. Energy is something that we do not get a lot of. We are dealt 12 spoons a day if we're lucky. Not all of us get 12 spoons each day, but when we do get them, we have to learn, and it took me a while to understand and to learn this. You have to learn where to place them, what to use them on, and how much of it to use. And so you're going to be learning. The learning never ends and it never stops because the CRPS never plateaus. Okay. And I know that's something that nobody ever wants to hear, but it's the truth. There is no plateau. There is no getting settled in. I learned that the hard way because the first 3 years of this disgusting thing, I was trying to learn how to even manage it, let alone understand it. And so when I finally thought, okay, I got it figured out, I'm in a good plateau, I'm in a good spot. I know what to do when this happens. I know what to do when that happens. And I thought I had it all figured out. And guess what? The moment I thought that, CRPS had a whole different ball game for me. And so off to the races it was once again, and I was trying to figure things out. So don't ever settle and don't ever get too comfortable, because there's going to come a point where you're going to be interrupted and game is going to be called because of rain. So you just have to understand that no matter how much you thought you've already learned, how much you've already discovered, there's always going to be more. And the one thing that I'm trying really hard right now to not so much learn it, but to understand it and to deal with it and to get through it, is the fact that I'm battling 2 wars right now. And the one that the war I'm battling right now is finally having my own home, getting back on my feet, getting settled into my new home. I've only been here for about 4 months, so it's still very new, and I'm still learning a routine, because the routine I had that I had built for myself, that took years to build for myself, was interrupted. And it wasn't interrupted by anything I did. It was interrupted by the outcome of what others have done. And so I had to live for almost 3 years without a routine, because it was very hard to have my routine and the things that I needed when I didn't have the support that I needed to have that routine. And so I lived for about 3 years without one. And when you are a sick person, when you have a disability, when you have certain things that you have to do to be able to get through a day, that comes with creating a routine for yourself. I cannot tell you what that routine is. That's something that you are going to have to figure out on your own, because each of our routines are different, because each of us are different. We are not all the same. And I know that's going to sound funny, because you're like, well, we all have CRPS. For us to follow you that have it, how can you say we're not the same? We have the same disease. Because with each person, CRPS is different. It's different in the way that you develop it. It's different in the way that your symptoms may vary from person to person. It's different in the way that you may form a disability or not, or a deformity or not. It's very different for each person, okay? And yes, you would be correct in saying we are the same with CRPS. That's the only thing that we are identical in, is that we have CRPS. Grant you, some of our symptoms may be similar, but I can promise you, one of my dearest, she was a very dear friend of mine, and we kind of lost out of touch with each other. But she would always say, we're all in the same ocean, just different ships. And that sums it up. The ocean we are in is CRPS, but our ships vary. So, I know it's hard to comprehend how we can all have the same disease but it be different. And again, this is where I will refer back to cancer, okay, as an example. You can have cancer, but it may not be the same style. It may not be the same type. It may not be in the same location. So that's an example, okay? But what I'm working on right now with my therapist is before Bubby and I got our home, our amazing, wonderful home, the living situation I was in was not ideal. It was not healthy for me. It was not healthy for Bubby. It was not healthy for other people that were in the same situation, that were in the same house. And the environment was not healthy. The environment was very toxic. The environment was dark. It was always a negative environment. It was not suitable for anyone with a disability or health problems. And oh, it sounded like it was raining. I guess not. It wasn't all bad at first. The house itself was, but the environment wasn't that bad at first, and then gradually it became toxic. It became unhealthy. It became dangerous. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it because it is what it is. I had family that didn't want to come over because of the environment. Eventually, I ended up living in a bedroom smaller than the one I'm in now. And that is where I stayed every day. The only time I came out of my room was to use the bathroom or to take Bubby outside or take him for a short walk or go to my daughter's or, something like that. Other than that, I stayed in that room all the time. It got to the point where I became fearful of the person that I was staying with, to the point where I would lock my bedroom door at night, or even during the day when I was in there, just to avoid the arguments or the yelling or the fighting or the threatening or this, that, or the other. It wasn't only verbal abuse, but it became emotionally abusive as well. It got to the point where I would have to check the mail and keep an eye out on the mail because I wasn't getting my mail. It was being thrown away while I still lived there. When I moved, I actually had to go to the post office and prove who I was. So I don't know if this person tried to do something with my mail or whatever, but it was just a lot of stress. It was a lot of negativity. It was a lot of fighting. I wasn't treated like a person. I wasn't treated like a guest. I was treated like hate, pure hate. Hatred was spewed at me all the time. Mean things were said, cruel things were said. There was a couple times where I was attempted to be pushed downstairs. There was a couple times where I was bum rush, I guess is what they call it, where they come up to you and bunt you with their chest. And just cruel, mean things were said. And my dog was mistreated. Bubby was mistreated there as well. There were certain things that took place with him. So I never left him alone with anybody at that house, because there were things that was done to him, and um, he is got a little bit of PTSD from it as well. Um, so I was, and then when I finally left and was moving out, the day that I was moving out, I had to deal with more nastiness. I had to deal with somebody who got drunk, who was higher than a kite, and just wanted to make trouble. And I had my sister there, and my nephew was helping me move. My nephew, praise him, I loved him to death. Worked really hard for his auntie that day, and he did all of the heavy lifting because I wasn't able to. My sister just had stomach surgery just a few weeks prior, so there wasn't a lot of heavy lifting that she could do. Um, and then my brother and my sister-in-law and my younger nephews came over later on that evening to help. So it all came together. I was freaking out because things that I had planned were falling through, or I couldn't do this, or it was too much to do that, and I had a budget, and I had things that I had to do, um, to get moved, and there was a lot to do for one person. Um, I hunted for a home for a year, and because I just wanted to get out of that environment, I had to get out of that environment. It was never meant to be a permanent environment anyway. It was just an environment that I was staying at until I was able to get my finances straight with my disability and get my own place. And so, um, the person tried to make my life a living hell, and on most days he won, and then there were days he didn't win. And those days that I showed him he wasn't getting to me, that his anger, his meanness, his cruelty wasn't bothering me on that day, it only made it worse. And so that's when I decided, you know what, I'm not even, you know I'm here, but I'm not here. So it was a really hard situation to be in for a year. I was there for almost 2 years. I moved out in April 1st is when I got my home. And when I told them that I was leaving, he thought I was kidding because I said April 1st. And he's like, oh, I'm not falling for that April 1st stuff. And I said, okay, well, that's fine, but it's not a joke. That's when I'm moving. So I'm just letting you know, not that it was any of his business, but I was showing him, I was being respectful to a person that wasn't respectful to me at all the entire time I was there. But I was being respectful and letting him know, hey, this is what's going to be going on that day, that week. So just so you know, just so you're aware. Um, and I couldn't get out of there quick enough, and I was happy that I finally was getting out. I was exhausted, and I'm still exhausted. I'm still trying to, when you live with a sick body, re, when you live with a disability, when you live in a sick body, adjusting to a new environment, to a new situation takes time. And I was being really hard on myself because I'm like, why am I not settling? Why am I not completely content? Why have I not exhaled? Why haven't I felt like I was at home? Like, why am I not feeling like any of that? Why am I not receiving any of that? And I was upset. I was being hard on myself. I was upset. I was to the point where I knew I did the right thing. I know this is my home and no one can take it away from me. I don't have to worry about a toxic environment because I don't allow toxicity in my life or around my life. I don't allow drama. I don't allow negativity. So I know I don't have to worry about any of that, but I'm still fearful of it. It's like it's right here. It's always there. And so that was one thing I was talking to my therapist about. And I told her, and I felt really weird saying this, but she is my therapist. I trust her, and it's important that she knows everything that I'm feeling and going through. So this is a portion of me that I'm going to be sharing with you as well. This is something I shared with her, and she explained to me what it was. And I'm not one to put labels on things. I don't self-diagnose myself. Um, so this is why it was so hard for me to understand it, and I was trying to figure out why. Like, this is just doesn't make sense. But I will lay in my bedroom at night or in the evening, and I always fall asleep to the television. I'll set the sleep timer on the TV and whatever. But every evening when Bubby and I come to bed, especially, it's not every evening now like it was when I first moved in here. Every little noise I heard, every little door I heard close or open, I would freak out. And that is because when I was living in the toxic environment, he was never quiet. He would always come to my bedroom door and he would bang on it and he would talk to me through it or yell at me through it. Nights that I did lock it, he would sit there and beg to, yell at me to unlock the door, open the door. There were times where he would just open my door without even making an announcement that he wanted to come in. He was always yelling. He was always fighting. He was either yelling at me or the other person that lived there with him. It was just very loud and very obnoxious and just very... I felt like I was constantly walking on eggshells being in that environment because you didn't know what kind of mood this person was going to be in day to day. You could be in a nice, good mood, and 5 minutes later, you could say something that would flip the script, and he'd be in a totally different mood where it would lead to cruelty, name calling, or belittling, or just yelling and being disrespectful to me. And so, when I first moved in here, every time a door would open, I would feel that same anxiety, that same fear that I would feel every time a door would open in that house, or I would hear him, because the bedroom I was in was at the end of the hallway, and there was a room right next to it, and then the bathroom, and then a den, and then you go down in the dining, kitchen, whatever. But a certain part of that room that was next to me, and a certain part of the floor next to my door would squeak anytime you walked on it. And so I always knew when he would be standing at the door. He could be quiet coming down that hallway, but the moment you got to a certain spot in that hallway in front of my door, it would squeak. And there were times where he would just stand there, and I could hear the floor. I'm like, what is he doing? And then he would walk away. So that also made my anxiety go up, and I didn't know what was going to happen. Like, was he going to start banging on the door? Was he going to want to come in? Was, just all that. And so when I first moved in, every time I would hear a door, or just someone talking, or because I live in, I don't consider them apartments, but I guess that's what they're labeled. But we are one floor apartments, so we have a front door or a back door. We have our door and our hallway and our patios and all that. So we're very much outside. It's just like having a house where but in the hallway, every time I would hear a noise or a door or a car start up or something, I would feel that anxiety again. And it was almost as if I was waiting for him to walk down my hallway. And I'm like, and I would have to like switch my thinking process, because I'm like, wait a second, I'm in my home. This is my home. He doesn't know where I live. He doesn't know, anything. It's a very secure location. So it's not like he could just knock on my door if he wanted to anyway. But it was that anxiety and that fear, and it would trigger every time. And like I said, we've only been here for about 4 months. It's not every night now like it was, but it does still happen. And so that is something I'm working on with my therapist, and I brought it to her attention, and she said it's PTSD. She says, we know that you have PTSD from when your mom passed away and what happened that we're working through. She says, so this is just another part of it that we're going to have to work through. And during our session yesterday, I told her, I said, it's crippling. It's like, I should be happy. I don't want to get emotional. I should be happy. I should be taking that breath in and just release, and I should be okay, and everything should be good. And she said, well, PTSD, it doesn't work that way. You have to work through the PTSD. Um, and so that's what I'm working on, because I never thought of myself of having it, but apparently I do. Um, and some days it's easy, and then some days it's not. He has a blue truck. Um, every time I see a blue truck, or the color a truck that's the same color blue, I freak out. Um, so it's like I'm learning how to deal with the not. He did get physical with me a couple times, but it was more so the emotional and verbal abuse. Um, and because of the way I was treated, because of things that happened, because of things that were said, and this, that, and the other, I have PTSD from it now. And I also have PTSD from when my mother passed away. So, you know, we already deal with enough. And because this person decided to be abusive, whether it was physical or mental or verbal, abuse is abuse. And abuse doesn't always have to be physical abuse. So if you are being mistreated verbally, if you are being mistreated emotionally, if you are not being treated with respect, and this person is just cruel and angry all the time, and just belittling you, and it is abuse. And so that is what I dealt with. And I dealt with it for, you know, over a year, almost 2 years. And, I just, that when I finally did get my home, when I finally did get a place, and when I finally signed my lease and all this, that, and the other, people in my life, very few knew where I was moving to. And the ones that didn't know where I was moving were told strictly, do not tell this person where I'm living, where I'm moving, does not need to know anything about me. So there's only a few people in my life that know where I live, that know where I've moved to, and I want it to stay that way. If I want people to know where I am, I will tell them. And I made that very clear to the ones that do know where I am. And they gave me their word that they wouldn't say anything. And I know my sister, my nephew, they're not going to tell him, because they don't even talk to him. They don't even like him. But others were told, do not say anything. And, it is a boundary of mine. And if it gets crossed, and if he does find out, then I know let's see, 2, 4, 6 people that know. Well, I know that 2 of them aren't going to say anything. So the other 4 would be questioned. Because I told them, do not say anything. And, it's really scary that here I am trying to start this brand new chapter of my life. And I'm trying to be happy, and I'm trying to get back on a routine, and I'm just trying to be me. It's sad that I have to be scared while doing it. And it's sad that I have to be worried, and that I have to lay in bed at night sometimes petrified that he's going to walk down my hallway. Or when I see a blue vehicle, that I get anxiety. I don't need to start my new life out like that. It's not fair to me. It's not right. And I walked away scarred. I walked away broken. And I am not a broken person. It takes a lot to break me. And the things that he put me through, the things that he said to me, the things that were done, it broke me. And I don't want to be broken. I'm trying to heal from that abusive situation. I'm trying to heal from that toxic situation. When I when I applied for this place and when I signed my lease and I got everything I needed, I had to be very top secret. I had to be like a spy. Um, you know, the property manager knows a little of the situation. She knows what's going on, and that was one of my questions was if he was to find out where I am and calls you, she's like, no. That's I know where you're going with your question, and the answer is no. Um, they actually are. Um, they I don't know if you want to call it sponsorship but they are in this program, and it's the abuse against women program. So they are a part of that. Um, so yes, where I live, they are not to so if somebody I know found out the community I'm in but didn't know what apartment I'm at, they can't just call up here and go, hey, I know so and so, I know she lives there, but I don't know her, I don't have her apartment number or address, blah blah blah. The only people that have that information is my daughter, because she is the emergency contact in my on my file. Um, so if anything happens, um, they will contact her right away. So she's the only one that knows. She has her and her fiance and my grandson. They came out and surprised me one day. So she got to meet a property manager, because I wanted them to meet. So my property manager would know who she was, and because she is on my emergency contact, so I wanted her to meet her and this that and the other. But so yeah, I had to do like everything very top secret. Because when you're applying for places, they want to call, they want references, they want this that, and the other. And I wrote a letter with my application when I applied, stating my situation, stating that I could not put him down. I put the address down as a reference, but I could not put his number down because I did not want them calling him, because I did not want him knowing where I was applying. So everything had to be like top secret. And it was really hard to do that. And even other places and I'm so glad that I found her because she understood. And I think because they are part of this violence against women program, I think that also helped her understand my situation. Because other places that I had applied for, I did the same thing. They wanted that reference, they wanted that phone number, and I wrote a letter with every place that I applied and explained to them my situation, that this is where I live. But please do not call because of the situation, because I don't want him knowing where I'm moving to. I'm trying to get out without him knowing where I'm going. And it made it really hard because, like I said, there at one point, I wasn't getting my mail. And so I would have my property manager text me to let me know that she had sent mail out. And then it got to the point where she's like, well, let me email you stuff instead. So we did it that way. She would email me things that I had to fill out or print, and this, that, and the other. And I would print them off, I would fill them out, and then I would send them out. So that way, um, she would call or she would text me to let me know, hey, I got your package today. I'm like, thank God, thank you, Jesus. Because it was very scary. Is it raining? It sounds like it's raining, but I don't. That's weird. I keep hearing like rain. Um, so it was like very top secret. Like I had to make sure. It must be a bird. I don't have no bird seed. I gotta buy some. Sorry. But yeah, it was very top secret. Everything had to be hush hush. And even my daughters, I told them, like I said, the one daughter of mine, no worries, because she didn't talk to him anyway. But the other one, still, she spoke with him. So I had to make sure that no one knew anything. Um, Others, I would tell them, hey, yes, I heard, blah, blah, blah. I'll let you know. So it's like I had to be very hush hush because I did not want him knowing where I was going. And I guess the reason I'm sharing this with you is to let you know a little bit about stuff that I've had to go through. Because I know I come up and I MCC you guys and I make it sound so yummy. Reality is I'm going through stuff too, but I'm using my hurt and my anger, and I'm turning it into power, and I'm turning it into MCCing you guys and letting you know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Like I said, I'm still dealing with the PTSD from my mom. I'm still dealing with the PTSD now from this. And when I told my therapist what was happening and what I was experiencing, I told her how I didn't understand what was going on. Like, why am I having these? And they weren't really nightmares. I was awake, but it was almost playing out in my mind like a nightmare. And she said, it's PTSD. She said, we will get through it, you know. And just like I said, when that happened when my mom passed away, it was the same thing. But PTSD is very real. Again, I don't self-diagnose. I don't believe in that. There are people that will go on the internet and Google stuff and then they self-diagnose. And it's like, you're not a doctor. Like, you may be experiencing some of these things, but until a doctor tells you or you talk with your doctor and you both agree, don't self-diagnose, because that's the worst thing you can do, because then you're living your life in fear. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die tomorrow. I have this, and this. Stop it. Stop it. But anyway, that was one thing I wanted to share, and that was why I'm dealing with trying to love my life again with the disability. I know some of you are going to be like, how can you say live your best life when you're sick? That's not a best life. That's a tragedy. Well, yes and no. It is a tragedy that I'm not going to be the person I once was, that the life I lived and had before is gone, that I'm in pain all the time, that my body is, I have a deformity. I have things that I deal with on a daily because of it. It is a tragedy that my life in general, the whole thing has changed. Yes, that's a tragedy. But my theory on that is I can go around and wallow about it every single day and be depressed and just hate life and never leave my room again. Or I can rise above it and be stronger than it and find the joy and live the best life and love living the life I have now. I've been on both sides of that coin. I've been that person that was in a dark room for months, that didn't get out of bed, that cried every day, that didn't shower for weeks. I was that depressed person. I was that person. I was in a really dark place in the beginning of all this. And I didn't like it there because that wasn't me. And so I had a really big, deep, dark talk to myself about it. And, the thing, excuse me, the thing about that, about being depressed, about deciding to, and some people say depression is not a decision. In some cases, no. In some cases, it's not. In other cases, it kind of sort of is, because you allow it to happen. Y'all know me, I don't sugarcoat things. You allow yourself to stay there. Getting depressed every now and then, that's normal. Everybody gets depressed. Deciding to stay there is a choice. And for a while, that is the choice I made. I decided to stay there. I decided to just hate life. Like, that's the choice I made, to stay there. And when I had to talk with myself and told myself, you know what, this is not you. You are not a person that stays in bed every single day. You are not a person that just hates life. You are not a person that stays in a dark room and windows shut, blinds closed. That is not you. And the thing is deciding to just remain depressed, that didn't make the CRPS go away. I still have it. Whether I'm depressed or whether I choose to live my best life, I still have this disease. I still have a disease that has no cure. I still have I still have a deformity that's never going to get better. I still have pain 24/7. I still take medication 3 times a day. I still have therapy. I still have treatments. I still have all this. So whether I'm depressed or whether I decide to be a happy person, the disease doesn't go away. So that's when I decided, you know what? Screw this. I want to be up. I want to see the world. I want to talk to my children. I want to see my grandbabies. I want to try to live my best life, the best of my ability, being a disabled, sick person. I still want to do that because I'm stronger than this. I've always been a strong-willed, independent person. And I'm not going to allow my disability to take every part of me away. And that was the thing too, was like, you know, this disease, this disability has taken so much from me already. I'm done allowing it to take the rest of it. I want to keep some of me, even if it's just a little morsel. I want part of me to stay here. And I know that the older I get, the more advanced this disease becomes. I know I'm not going to always be the same person, but at least a part of me is. At least I can keep part of me. And so that is what I fight so hard every single day to do. Whether it's a day that I get up and put on a little bit of makeup and get dressed, or whether it's the day I decide to stay in my comfies all day and color in my adult coloring books, or whether it's the day I decide to watch the Golden Girls, or, you know, binge the Kardashians, whatever it is I decide to do. And yes, there are days where I am in bed. And I call them my bed potato days. But it's because I choose to. I choose to. Not my disability, not my depression. I still have depression. And I was on medication for it. And I didn't like the way it made me feel. It only made it worse. So I stopped it. And I fight that depression all the time. That depression is still in the back of my mind going, I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. And I fight with it. Just because I get up and I decide to live my best life as a disabled person doesn't mean I don't have depression. I have depression. It's not going away. Okay? But even when I was in bed all day, it didn't go away. So if you're going to take and you're going to allow CRPS to consume every single part of you 24/7, you are losing out on so much. You are losing out on the person that you can be with a disability. You don't have to be a person that allows your disability to take away every single part of you. I just won't allow it. I don't allow it. But just because I don't allow it doesn't mean I'm not sick. Just because I decide to put on a little bit of makeup doesn't mean I'm cured. Just because I decide to get out of bed one day doesn't mean my deformity is gone. It's all still there. It's going to be there every day for the rest of my life. But what matters is how I choose to live the rest of my life. I can choose to be bitter, mean, angry at other people for no reason, or I can choose to be a better person, a respectable person, and a person that tries to live her best life every day when she gets the foot on the floor and the devil says, oh, damn, she's up. Yup. I decide to be a happy person. Am I Miss Jolly and Bob? No. No. I'm not taking it over the top. No. But I can be a good person and still be that good person I've always been. Be that person who helps others. Even in my situation, I try to help whenever and however I can, because that's just my personality. That's just who I am. And that's never going to stop. That's never going to go away. However, my neighbors apparently are outside. But you can live your best life. You can live your best life. It may not be the life that you had planned for yourself or that you foreseen in your future, but you can still live your best life. You can still live your best life as with CRPS. It's not always going to be easy. It's going to be hard. You're going to have days where nothing you do stops the pain. There are going to be days where your home methods, the toolboxes that we keep at home with the home methods that we do on a bad day, because with CRPS it evolves so much over time that your methods have to change, your treatments have to change, medications will probably have to change, the way you live every day has to change. You're going to have, more likely, medical devices are going to have to change. The way your clothes are going to have to change. So it does change, and it's an ongoing thing. It always changes. There's, like I said in the beginning of this video, there's no plateau. There's no settling. There is no, oh, okay, we're good here. None of that, because it changes all the time. And I wish I could come up here and be like, nope, we got a cure, guys. We're going to be good. You're going to have your life back tomorrow. I wish I could say that, but the reality is we're not there yet. And I don't know if we will get there in my lifetime or after my lifetime. But I do hope and pray that they find a cure very soon. And I hope and pray that people that have it, I hope that they're able to fix them. I hope that living their best life turns into living their best life as a healthy person, a person that isn't sick and doesn't have all the issues that we have. So, I keep praying every day that they come up with a cure. Like I said, will it be during my time? Probably not. I mean, it's, CRPS has been around since the 1800s. So, and it's had many names over the years. So, I'm not trying to poo-poo on the idea of a cure. I'm just being realistic. I'm not saying that they're never going to, but will it be during my time? Probably not. It'd be nice, but and again too, it's for them to find a cure. As we know, or maybe you don't know, if you're a person that is diagnosed with it and you develop it, if it's caught early and they start treatment early on you, your chances of it going into remission is very high, where others, there is no remission period. It's there, it's not going anywhere, and that's that. Even people that, to find a cure for this, it's been over 100 years already, and I don't know if this is something that can even be cured. Maybe it's something that they can put into remission and it can stay there. But even then, you have to be very careful, because I know people that have gone into remission and they sprained an ankle and boom, it was back there again, and it was in full force, and it was pissed off, and it was back for revenge. So I mean, it's, CRPS is a fickle thing, and because it's so different in everybody, it's so hard to find that cure, and I think that's why they haven't found one. And so right now they're just trying to come up and figure out treatments that will help. And so far, mine has, the treatments I get and the methods I do have helped me so far, and I hope and pray that they continue. I hope, knock on wood, that it continues. Because if it ever came down to it not helping, I don't know what I would do. The minute that it stops helping me is the minute my doctors go, okay, well, we can't keep giving you treatments that don't work anymore. And that's a scary thought. That's a very scary thought, because that's the only thing that's been working for me, that with my medications. So it's a really scary thought to think about. Um, but anyway, we've been up here for over an hour, so I'm going to go. I just want to come up and I wanted to give you all a little bit of motivation today, and kind of fill you in on some stuff that I've been dealing with. Um, and I am working on that with my therapist. I'm working on trying to get my mindset to be in that place that it needs to be, with enjoying my home and being happy about my home and being content and just still. And right now I'm not there yet, and so that's what I'm working on. um not saying that I don't love my home. I love my home very much. I love the area. It's peaceful, it's quiet, it's, it's not in the city. I am not a city person. But it's just mentally, I need to get my mind where the rest of me is, and it's not easy. And I have to get through this PTSD moment that I'm having. It's just, I'm working through that. So anyway, we're gonna go. I love you all. I'm sending you all gentle hugs. I'm wishing you all an LPD. And remember, you absolutely can live your best life as a person with CRPS. It's just, you have to find what that means for you. And when you find it, remember your baby steps. Remember to rest and reset when you need to. And remember that you are enough, that you are loved. And I am sending you all gentle hugs, and I will talk to you all very soon. Until then, ciao for now. Bye.